So today is baby's due date, and my other kids that were born full term both came right around the due date. Naomi was a couple days early and Timothy was a couple days late. So this is pretty fitting with that average, I guess you could say. Last night while the kids were getting ready for bed and going to bed, Luke was getting them to bed, I was having a lot of cramps, and so I was sitting in here on the birth ball and working on the computer for a couple hours, and then I don't really remember exactly what happened, but somewhere in the cramping turned into contractions, and I've been going to bed at like 10 p.m. every night, and been able to sleep all night long. Even if I've been having contractions in the evening leading up to that point, as soon as I go to bed they stop and I sleep all night. But last night the contractions kind of started at 10 o'clock or into 10 o'clock, something like that. And I was wide awake. I didn't feel like I could go to sleep, so I ended up staying up and started timing contractions for the first time in this pregnancy, because they were strong and they were long. So I started timing those around like 10:45 and timed them all the way until 1:30 in the morning. They were every 10 minutes, lasting for a minute or more. And they were starting to get a little closer together at 1:30-ish. In the meantime, I watched a movie and folded all our cloth diapers that had been sitting in a pile at the end of the bed for days. I was just kind of busying myself in between contractions, and they were strong and they were long, and I had to breathe because they kind of like took my breath away, but they aren't painful at all. It's really just I don't know, I always describe it like your belly is hugging your baby as tight as it can. I was also getting really hungry and really thirsty from the contractions, and so I'm trying to eat stuff and drink water, and then I also ended up folding a whole huge load of laundry that we had just washed, which was good, and setting up the room a little bit for birth. In the past I have had sort of this like warm-up contractions leading into full-on labor around the same time frame of night, and so I was really expecting last night that things would really escalate and then we would have Noble by early this morning. But Luke knew I was having contractions and he knew that they were long, but he was doing his own thing. He wasn't at all concerned about it. He ended up going to bed while I was still wide awake timing contractions, and I had told him that he would probably only be sleeping for a little while, and that I would probably be getting him up to help in, no time. So I put down these plastic backed sheets on our rug on my side of the bed and the foot of the bed, and then just covered them with a towel so that they weren't so crunchy sounding when I was getting up and walking back and forth to the bathroom. And I covered my side of the bed with our plastic mattress protector and an old sheet, just in case. Luke was already asleep on the other side of the bed, so I couldn't do the whole bed.
I see a snack down here.
Yes. And then at 1:30, I actually just got really wiped and decided I was going to lay down, knowing that contractions will still come even if I'm laying down. I'll have to be upright. And figuring I would just rest in between them as much as I could. But I ended up falling asleep, and I know that I had them throughout the night because I felt them. But I actually slept pretty good in spite of that. I don't feel like I got woken up super intense from any of the contractions that I had. And I would estimate that I had like about 1 per hour throughout the night. And yeah, woke up this morning kind of at the usual time and have just kind of been waiting for contractions to come back in swiftly. They're coming about every 10 minutes again. A little bit more than that maybe, but I'm not timing them right now. And when I get them, they're long. I know they're over a minute right now too. So I told Luke he's good to go to work, and I'll just let him know if they get closer together, like 5 or 3 minutes.
Oh, Mother!
Good job. So the pattern since yesterday has been that I have some contractions through the daytime, and then Timothy, and then in the evening they start to pick up into like a consistent pattern of not closer than 10 minutes apart, but they're real contractions. They're not Braxton Hicks, and I know that they're doing stuff. So yeah, last night the same thing happened. It was like bedtime and contractions were picking up, and then I was just tired, and so I was laying down to go to sleep, and ended up falling asleep, and just waking up when I would have a contraction. I had them all night long, but more like an hour apart. And then by the time I wake up, they're like done for the day pretty much. I'll have like a random one, you know, every hour, every other hour or something like that. And so it's good because I'm able to be taking care of Naomi and Timothy still. Luke's had to be working still too, so yeah, so convenient, I guess. But it's very unlike my past experiences with giving birth. Yeah, yesterday is a day that typically my midwife would come by for a checkup, and she didn't because we all expected that I would go into labor. So I think she was kind of holding off for that call. And then today, she just popped by, and mostly out of both of our curiosity, she checked my cervix, and I'm already dilated 3 centimeters just from the contractions I've been having the past 2 nights. So super encouraging. It's super funny to me because usually by this point in the past I would be within hours of holding a baby, but everything is just more slowed down this time, and I'm really expectant to see when baby actually makes an appearance and see how we're just like, wow, God timed that perfectly for all these different reasons that we never could have thought of otherwise. So yeah, the funny part now is that my midwife is actually on her way out of town, on a vacation that she and her husband had planned like well before she took me on as a client, and they won't be back until next week, so she and I would both prefer that she be here, and we really love her, but obviously if baby comes before she gets back, it's all gonna be fine. Yeah, but who knows, with this kind of like, it's enough to be softening and opening. With this pattern so far, I could obviously keep going for a week easily, and not get fully dilated. If I just end up having contractions, you know, like steadily and slowly through the night, and then that's dilating me a little bit at a time each night, and then I could just be fully dilated and all of a sudden labor starts and here's baby boy. I could have contractions tonight too that get me to 4 centimeters, and then active labor starts like it has with my others. But regardless of how it happens, everything is already so ready. Baby's head is fully engaged down there. When my midwife checked me, she could feel his head and through the opening. So, yeah, it's gonna be quick, which is awesome. And that's what we've been expecting and believing for. All of my past births have been very quick already. But I think with all of this, like work getting done in advance, basically, when it's really active labor, I think baby's gonna come very quickly. So, we're excited. I am expecting to do most of my laboring laying here in bed. That's kind of how it's been so far when I've been having contractions. But if I end up going onto the floor, either like to lean against the bed or my birth ball, sit on that, or I usually end up going to the bathroom frequently when I'm in labor too, just keeping things cleared out. Thankfully that is literally like steps from my bed. We have the floor kind of covered with some things, and then yeah, but so I've moved around some of our birth supplies. Luke got this salt lamp for me, which is on a dimmer, so it can go bright enough that I can see everything in the room, or it can be super dim, like just a little bit of light, which is really nice for labor. Anyways, so I've got the bulb syringe and cord clamp and an adult diaper, and then bowl for the placenta. The stuff is literally just like, if I need to tell Luke to grab it, he can just grab it right here. if I have back labor like I did with my other two, I'm gonna try out a hot water bottle this time, because Luke would help with counter pressure, but I think that would be helpful. And then in the hospital, I always had my eyes closed because it was easier for me to focus, but here at home has been so relaxing that I expected that my eyes would be open, and I'd really like to be able to see when baby's head is coming. And so this is just like a really small mirror that'll work for that. And then I'm actually gonna go ahead and move some of these pads and some swaddles. I think maybe even these things too, right down here under the bed, so that if I have to, and I'm laboring here or on the bed or whatever, you can just reach right under and grab that stuff really easily while everything's going down.